This is Dr. Mariah White, host of Your Life Matters. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hi, this is Emily.
This is Lindsay.
And this is Elizabeth,
co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Once you are done with this episode, we hope you'll come check out our show, Beauties and Headcanons, where we talk nerdy to you about fandoms, fan fiction, and all pop culture for nerds that you can think of. A new show comes out every Friday.
Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Welcome to the C. Jane Sell podcast,
a relatable sales podcast for your weekly dose of sanity. I'm your host, Chelsea Dupre.
and I'm your host, Lee Nevis.
Hello. Welcome back, everybody. It's your favorite day of the week, Thursday. Also known as
The day before Friday, Friday Eve.
absolutely, and CJ Cell Podcast Day.
I mean, save the best for last.
The most important.
The most important, yes. Yeah, so welcome back. We're excited to have you. This
Absolutely.
episode is brought to you today by Chelsea and Lee.
Let it.
That's it.
It's brought to you by us. Yeah. So, hey, how's your week been?
My week has been good. Just trying to get everything finalized and installed and ready for the end of the year because we have basically not 1 week. This is the last week. So till Friday, that's the end of the fiscal year.
Oh my gosh.
It's all there and just
That's scary.
finally getting everything done and installed, and it's just
Woo!
craziness.
Yeah.
Pure madness.
Gosh.
So, yeah, getting everything installed, got everything written up, that's done. Making sure everything goes the way it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure service is happy, customers are happy. Who cares if I'm happy? It's fine.
So you got a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. And
Yeah.
Fast Signs is busy, so that's always good. And
Good.
yeah,
That's awesome. May I just point out really quick, your hair and nails are on point today.
well, let me tell you about these things. These are press-on nails from Walmart.
They look amazing. They look like you literally went and got like a good manicure.
$4.50. Had to replace the thumbnail this morning. Lost it. Had to get another one.
No big deal because it's $4.50.
$4.50. It's not quite the right size, but from a distance you can't tell.
Yeah, no, like here. I mean, even like barely close up, I can't even tell that it's not the right size.
Yeah, so Sally Hansen crushing it.
Gosh, they look so good.
They last me a whole week. I just was very intense with this little guy.
Yeah, they literally just look so good. I can't get over it.
Thanks. Yeah, so the hair is just a little bit of like laziness and a little bit of like, I say it all the time, so I'm not going to say it after this, but like Queen of the South.
New drinking game to hydrate yourself. The opposite drinking game. Every time Chelsea mentions Queen of the South, take a drink of water.
Yeah.
We'll
treat
remind
yourself.
you to
Treat
stay
yourself.
hydrated.
Yeah, stay hydrated, my friends. She looks very like sleek and elegant and
Uh-huh.
like all white, and her hair's like slicked back.
Okay.
So it's kind of like rainy this week.
It
and
is. It's very rainy this week.
I have been like go, 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 go. So my hair has suffered in like the styling department.
Yeah.
So I just like, you know what? I'm channeling my inner boss.
I love it.
She might be a drug lord, but
But she
tomato,
looks
tomato.
great doing it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, she runs an empire, so
So you gotta look sleek,
yeah. So
you know?
work
Gotta have
on-
people trust you.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
that's where the inspiration comes from.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Nice. Well, my week has been good.
Yes, tell
I
me.
think that I'm about to be really annoying because I'm about to, like, complain about, like, the most first world problem of all time.
I'm ready for it.
I have been on so many vacations this summer that I can't. It's stressing me out because
Yeah.
it's hard. When you get back from vacation, it's really hard to get back into work mode. and I've been on so many that it's been really, I've been stressing out because, yes, I've been stressing out because I get back and it's like I don't have time to recover. And then obviously, like, especially with not just starting a business, but like also like I'm cocktail serving, so that way like I have my days free, but I still am making money. So it's like I go and do that and I'm tired and I'm exhausted, and then I just don't feel like working because I just got back from vacation, and like it's been,
and you have to plan for the next one.
Yeah.
I mean, you were totally right. These are first world problems, but they are problems nonetheless.
Yeah, it's been difficult, and I feel really stressed out that I'm not getting enough done.
Yeah.
And I think that's the worst part, is like, I'm having a great time, and I'm having fun, and I'm really grateful and appreciative that this is like what I get to do, but I'm stressing out because I'm just not finding the time to get stuff done, and I want to get more stuff done.
Other parts of your life were lacking.
Yes, for sure. So I have one more this weekend. I have one last and final bachelorette party that I get to go to, my sister-in-law's bachelorette party, and then I'm literally not traveling until, I'm not kidding you, like January or February. So I'm done. I'm done traveling this year.
Proud of you.
Just like, I'm done.
I'm like on the other end of the spectrum. I'm like, I have a vacation coming up in November. Last time I went on vacation was last November. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
But I feel you.
But, like, look what all you accomplished, though. Like, you're about to hit President's Club. Like, that's a huge reward for you. So that, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
It's totally worth it.
But I get it, because it takes a lot of time to plan and get, like, in a groove. Like, it takes a while to get in a groove, and then when you're in the groove and the groove gets disrupted, it takes time to get back in the groove.
Yes, it does.
Only for you to disrupt it.
Yes. That's how I feel. I was trying to tell this to Shane yesterday, and he was like, Lee, shut up. He's like, oh my God, you're complaining about the amount of trips that you get to go on. I'm like, I'm not complaining. I just can't get back in my groove. He's just like, go upstairs. I can't look at you right now.
Yeah, but it's a real problem.
It is a real problem. And so, but with that, like, what we mostly wanted to talk about today, because at the beginning of our episode last time, where we got to talk to the wonderful Andrew Llewellyn of Legion Dairy, Chelsea mentioned in our little intro about like how she struggles with anxiety, and we actually had a couple people like DM us on Instagram and reach out, and we're just like, hey, like that was really tight that you were able to be so honest about that. Like, I struggle with the same thing, girl, you go.
Yeah.
And we thought that was so cool, because it's something that everyone has, and some people have it way worse, and if you don't get anxiety, like, you don't understand, like, how hard it is. And so, today, we wanted to talk a little bit about just, like, anxiety, and, like, the fact that it's a real thing, and you can have it, and it's uncontrollable. It doesn't mean that you're, like, weak or whatever, because it's just something that we've both been struggling with lately. Because, I mean,
it's a thing.
Me going on all my vacations, I have all these things.
But you're also building a company.
Exactly. So it's mostly just like, I'm starting this company, I'm having a lot of fears, I'm having a lot of anxieties, and it's hard to deal with because sometimes you get the type of anxiety where it's so, like, crippling that you don't want to do anything.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're afraid that, like, if you do one thing, it's going to be the wrong move. And so you get kind
or
of
there's
like,
too many things to do and you don't know where to start. So you're like, Friends.
Oh my gosh.
Netflix. So
so I'm just going to watch.
Like, I guess it's better to do nothing than to do one of the things. But which one of the things do I do first?
But, like, at the time, it makes a lot of sense. You're like, no, I'm just, like, not going to do it. I can't. Because I literally want to die.
Yeah.
Rather than do anything.
Yeah. It's like, I don't even know where to start. I mean, it's like, I just tell myself, it's like cleaning your room.
Mm-hmm.
Pick one thing up, put it away. Pick one thing up, put it away. But that's hard.
Yeah, I know. You've seen my room. I know it's hard.
I'm aware. Yeah, so the thing is like, I think for my anxiety journey, I started out, like, in high school, I was, like, the go-getter, the do the things, all of the things. You tell me I can't do it, then I'm going to do 2 more things. Like, whatever. There was a time, this was a pivotal moment in my life, because I remember it. It was Thanksgiving, and I was in high school, and I was going to do all these things, and one of these things was make these pies, and there was a lot of things I was doing, and my dad's like, you can't do all of those things. And I remember getting furious at him. Absolutely furious. I was like, you are my dad. How dare you doubt me? And because you doubted me, I'm going to do all of it. And I'm going to do it really good. And so that has always, like, stuck with me. I mean, my dad has always believed in me. Like, I think he just is an adult and realizes, like, don't bite off more than you can chew because it leads to freaking anxiety. Yeah. So, like, his words of wisdom, I now realize what he meant by that. But at the time, I was like, excuse you, buddy? Really? Okay, fine. Well, watch this. And so,
watch this.
These pies are going to be great, and you're going to have one of every single thing. I mean, it was so simple. But then I, like, look back, and it's like, the older I've gotten, I keep doing all of the same things I was doing and taking on more and more and more. Mm-hmm. But these things that I'm taking on, I was like, I used to do all of those things. But at that point in my life, when I was younger, it was pick this up, pick up this, do this, do this, do this. They didn't have such a heavy consequence with them. Mm-hmm. Or it wasn't things that impacted as many people when I did them. Or, like, if I don't get this sale, I can't pay my mortgage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's more that weighs on what I do.
Absolutely.
Versus now versus then. And it finally is, like, a clicking point. I'm like, why do I feel like this? Like, I always did all these things. I was always able to do a million things. And then everyone else's things. Like, my jogging is someone sprinting. And
yes, it is. That's a very true statement.
It just is a lot. And so finally I'm like, I do as many things as I used to do, but the things I do now have more of an impact for a longer amount of time and to more people. So they carry a lot more weight.
And that's
stress.
So stressful.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's like a thing.
I mean, you absolutely are completely normal for having a crazy amount of anxiety about that. Like, that's
well, then you feel like a loser. You're like, well, I did it then. Why can't I do it now?
Yes.
Like, that's the other thing is you're always comparing yourself. Well, they do this, and they do this, and this is happening for them, and this is happening for them. Why can't I?
Ugh.
Chill out, ho.
I know.
Like, stop.
And it's so hard, too, because I feel like, I mean, I'm sure you're like me, where I try to follow, like, on Instagram, like, women in business, like, women who are successful, do this and this and this, and it's like, every single person every other day is posting, like, this is my routine, I wake up at 5 a.m., I do this, da da da, my entire day is planned out, and that's how I survive, yay, I'm great, and I'm just like, God.
I was like, I made a plan A, B, and C, and then I ended up doing D.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't even have a plan for D, but I did that D, and it's like, great.
And it's so hard to keep a routine, I think, when you have anxiety. Because you don't really know when it's going to hit. Yeah. And you don't know how severe it's going to be.
Well, and the other thing is, like, in my type of work in sales, you have to roll with the punches. Like, there's going to be someone, your meeting's going to run late, and it's going to push this meeting back, and then someone's going to call, and they're going to want to meet with you, and you're going to want to do all these things, and something went wrong on service, so you've got to help with that. Or, you know, there's something going on here and there and there, so you have to be able to roll with it. There's a lot of times that the plan you make doesn't stay in place.
Yep.
And so when you're just, like, on the path of the schedule, that's when it's not scheduled and it doesn't go as scheduled.
Absolutely.
Plan E takes an effect.
That's so stressful.
Oh my gosh. So it's just like all the things. And I saw this article on LinkedIn, and I'm going to try to find it while we talk about something else, but it was this I'm like, dead air. Hey, Josh, you want to add in a zinger? I'm just kidding.
Josh is our editor.
Yeah, he's really awesome. But anyways, I don't know where it is. I'm not going to waste everyone's time. But it was essentially this lady. She was a big time, big deal, like, executive woman. And she was running this company and killing it. And the only time she had anything together was at work. But everything else around her was crumbling. Like, she tried to commit suicide so many times, and she had to be put in an institution, like, because she had so much anxiety, she didn't handle it properly. And then it got so extreme that she went into, like, this massive depression. All of these things happened, and no one would ever be able to tell because she had it so together at work. Yeah. But she just was pushing that off, and she was just driven and, like, ran by all of these tasks and to-dos and what to do. People didn't like her at work because she was rude, because she was like, this is the plan, you do it or you get out. And I'm like, oh.
Wow.
Okay. But that's the thing, like, if you don't look at it and face it, there's, like, this awful taboo about anxiety and dealing with it. And like, even when before we had people reach out, I was really worried. I was like, oh great, people are going to think I'm a freaking pill popper, I'm some psychopath or whatever. Mm-hmm. But at the end, like, hearing those things, I'm like, okay, well, that makes me feel better that whatever, it just is a thing. You have to deal with it.
For sure. And
it's only going to get worse if you don't.
Absolutely. And it's like a medical diagnosis, too. It's not, I feel like a lot of people take it lightly, and it's like, oh my God, I have anxiety. And it's like, do you really, or are you just stressed out? Because if you have, like, actual, like, real, like, medically diagnosed anxiety, it's crippling, and it's scary. And if, again, like that lady in that article, like, if you don't deal with it properly, it takes a huge toll on you.
And I know that's extreme, but if you don't deal with it, it becomes extreme.
But it's a reality, and it
happens. Ends relationships. Mm-hmm. It hurts people. It's like a teenage girl that's in love with this boy, and you're like, don't do it. And she only sees her side of things because she's only in her world. Yeah. Don't be that person. Like, get out of your own world. Like, listen to these people. Like, I mean, but really, there's a sweet girl that I know, and she is so in her own world, and everyone around her, me and her mom, and I'm sure her friends are just, like, watching, and we're like, honey, like, stop. Mm-hmm. But she's so in her world that she doesn't see what's going on around her. And I think that's the same thing with anxiety. You don't want to tell people about it because you're embarrassed. Mm-hmm. So that leads to shame, which makes you feel like poop. Mm-hmm. And then you have all this other things going on around you, so you're suppressing all these feelings. And it comes to a point where you get burnt out, you get angry, you get sad, and then you have an even bigger hole to dig yourself out of.
Absolutely. And I think it's hard, too, to find the right person to talk to about it, because I feel like if you talk to the wrong person, they're like, well, why don't you just, like, calm down? Or, like, what, like, can just, like, don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, it'll go away.
Yeah, just let it go. Just let that ish go. Yeah. It's like, it's not that easy.
I'm like, I know you have that on a shirt that you found and it was really cute, and you put it on a mug with, like, some Zen yoga doll, but, like, this ish ain't going anywhere. This just stay. It's not. Okay, so absolutely. That's annoying, but yeah, like, finding the right person to talk to about it and actually dealing with it and finding out how to deal with it. Because anxiety it alienates you.
It does.
And then it's like, well, what's my purpose? What am I doing? Like, is this all what I'm doing all of this for? Like, for what? So it gets lonely.
It does get lonely.
So, and there is a point where it's just stress. And it might be a temporal, like, anxiety type of a thing.
For sure.
But those can still spiral. And being able to, like, identify which is which for you and having, like, a comfortable person that you can talk to is huge.
Yes. And, like, seeking help in the right places in the right way. In, like, a healthy way.
Yeah.
And, like, not just, like, because I think that a lot of people who deal with anxiety, like, turn to, like, drinking or, like, stuff that's not healthy, but stuff that calms you down, but doesn't actually do anything to fix the problem.
Right.
Or doesn't do anything to help you, at least.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And it's really easy to fall into that trap because it's, like, easy.
Yeah.
Hello. It's like, do I want to book an appointment with a therapist, or do I want to walk down the street and buy a $5 bottle of wine? Like,
path of least resistance.
Yeah. And so it's really, it's difficult, and it requires planning, and it requires hard work, which is also something that's not easy to do when you have crazy anxiety, but sometimes you just gotta do it.
Which is really the solution to it. I mean, you've had anxiety. Kind of tell us about, I've told you about mine, and we can talk about how we deal with it here in a minute or whatever, but, like, give us because everybody has their own different way that it comes and finds them, or
definitely
whatever.
So my anxiety comes from, so I started getting panic attacks in 2012, and I got my first one, and I had no idea what it was. And I literally thought that I was dying. It was whenever we were my husband and I were driving from Louisville to Los Angeles. I was in a tunnel in Colorado driving by myself because we drove our cars separately. Thank God traffic was stopped. But, like, traffic was stopped in a tunnel, and then all of a sudden everything went black. Like, my eyes were open, everything was fine. And my entire eyesight just went completely black. And then my heart, like, started pounding. Like, I felt like my heart dropped. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck just happened? Like, what? Oh my gosh, I just cursed. I'm sorry, but that's what I said. I was like, what just happened? We had walkie-talkies. I walkie-talkie chain. I was like, we need to pull off on the road. I don't know what just happened. I think I'm dying. Maybe I'm having a stroke. I didn't know what it was. But then later, my therapist told me, like, no, like, that was a panic attack. That's literally what a panic attack is. And it just came out of nowhere. Like, I wasn't really, like, in that moment, I wasn't crazy stressed out, but it sometimes gets triggered from, like, stressful situations. And we were moving across the country, and it was in a tunnel, and, like, even though you're not panicking and, like, on the outside, like, looking like you're stressed out, on the inside, my body just had a panic attack. So I get panic attacks. Nothing new. I think that they're really hard to deal with, especially because they don't always happen, like, when you think they're going to happen. Like, something big happens, I don't have a panic attack. It happens, like, later. Like, a couple days later, I'll just be sitting on the couch watching TV and I'll just have a panic attack randomly. It's, like, a weird body response. And I think from that, though, it's brought on a lot of anxiety because I think that I'm nervous all the time that I'm just going to have a panic attack. Because they're really debilitating and not fun.
Yeah.
And so for me, my anxiety it comes in a form of, you know how some people have, like, analysis paralysis? That's kind of my anxiety of, like, where I get really quiet and really, like, secluded and I don't want to do anything or talk to anyone because it's, like, too hard to do anything or too hard to make a decision.
Yeah,
and
your mind just, like, stops working.
Yeah. Or it's, like, my mind doesn't want to do anything because my thoughts are, like, racing in my head like a million miles a minute. And I just can't do anything except for just sit with my racing thoughts in my mind. And that's kind of the anxiety that I've been struggling with and I think dealing with, especially with starting a business, because I'll have one moment where I'll get one thing done and then one thought will come into my head of, like, okay, well, next step is this, next step is this. What if I make the wrong decision? What if I choose the wrong shipping company? What if I, like, mess up and like, it just comes in waves and I feel like it's really hard to deal with. But a lot of times I just take, like, 15 minutes to, like, just sit and do, like, a mindless activity. And I think that's one thing that's really helped me kind of get over that hurdle of, like, I know I'm having crazy anxiety right now. I need to get my mind off of it because mine comes with racing thoughts. And so I'll either, like, get, like, a cat coloring book out, like an adult coloring book. And so I'll do that for, like, 15 minutes to just get my mind on something, like, mindless and stupid.
Yeah.
Or, like, even, like, just turning on an episode of The Kardashians for, like, 15 minutes because it's, like, mindless TV. Their voices are so monotone and calming. Like, they're never upset. Like, do you ever notice that? Like, every episode it's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like, it's like ASMR except for reality TV. That's kind of what the Kardashians are to me.
Definitely.
And so just, like, it's a way of shutting my brain off and getting it to kind of not race and just to calm myself down. And then I can be like, okay, let's pick one thing and let's do that one thing right now.
Yeah.
And get back to it. So that's kind of my experience with anxiety and how I try to deal with it. But sometimes it's hard. It's hard, girl.
It's so hard.
It is.
Yeah.
So.
I think the other thing that's really important is like respecting your body, you know,
Yes.
what you're putting into it. And, like, I mean, there's a magic that happens when you work out. Like, even if it's just a walk, just, like, something easy, just, like, get out, get some fresh air. Like, because today is so fast paced and it's always hitting this next benchmark and it's always doing this and being better than you were yesterday. And people are looking, so you have to be, like, on your best all the time.
Yeah.
And, like, that's exhausting.
It is.
And then it's, like, just all of that is a lot to add up on its own. But from what you put in your body to what you're eating, that has an effect on your mind and your spirit. And then to getting outdoors and, like, being active and, like, just working every part of your body that also needs work besides just your brain.
Yep.
I think that's huge. And finding something that you're giving yourself in a good way, you know, whether that's, like, a religious activity or if it's, like, volunteering or just doing something kind for somebody else. Yeah. That's, you know, sometimes putting someone in front of yourself for, like, a good thing, not just, like, work.
Yeah.
Even if it's taking cookies to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Just something, make someone else happy. I think that is a huge return on, like, your spiritual well-being.
Definitely.
Which is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I like that. You have to take care of yourself. And you have to know, like, as much as anxiety, like, can be helped through, like, going and, like, seeing a therapist, seeing a psychiatrist, like, you can get put on, like, actual medication for it. You have to realize, like, what makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times what makes it worse is lack of sleep, poor diet, not getting active enough. And you have to be aware that, like, you just have to take care of yourself. And that's why self-care is so important. It's not just like, oh, self-care, let me just eat some ice cream and calm down. It's taking care of yourself and making what situations are really hard for you a little bit easier.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think, like, the whole 15 minutes of just, like, a mindless activity, that's a really useful self-care tip.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that is something so simple, but you recognizing something going on inside that could lead to something else, and you're taking a step back, and you're just something little like that. Because it's, like, one thing to just talk about it and post about all your anxiety and all of those things, which can be very therapeutic for people, but that's not fixing your anxiety. Or it's not bettering how you handle your anxiety.
Yes, correct.
You know, at the end of the day, you're the only person that's going to get yourself anywhere. And I think there's, like, a little bit of peace in that alone. Is like, you can't depend on anybody but yourself. So giving yourself enough faith to be like, I can freaking do this.
Yes, believing in yourself.
Just believing in yourself. Like, not doubting yourself. Like, you're the only person that can make yourself get up. You're the only person that can get yourself that job. You're the only person that can do any of these things.
Yep.
So, like, medication can definitely help. Exercise, activities, like, giving yourself a purpose. Obviously, these things can help.
Totally.
But you're the only person that can get yourself there.
Yep.
That's
accurate. You know what I learned this week?
Tell me.
That, you know how, like, when we get stressed out, we, like, and we don't want to do anything, we scroll through our phones?
Yeah.
That's actually really horrible for our brains and for people who have anxiety.
Why?
Because
tell me, because I do it.
So it's because it's the action of, like, your brain constantly, like, not focusing on something for long enough, and the act of actually scrolling through and seeing so many different things, it actually ramps up, like, if you have racing thoughts, if that's a problem that you have, or, like, overstimulation, it actually worsens it, because your brain, it keeps on with, like, I'm doing, like, a circular motion with my hands right now. It keeps on with your racing thoughts and, like, continuous, like, snowball effect thinking.
Absolutely.
So it's actually really bad for you.
Yes, it is.
So, and I didn't know
my
that.
favorite thing, and after, like, talking to you, is at night, I learned this from my grandma. Like, when she would be, like, couldn't sleep or whatever, she'd go and play solitaire. And so, like, I love solitaire mainly because I feel like it's, like, a little piece of me and my grandma.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I just, before bed, my husband's like, what are you doing? Like, I probably really shouldn't be on my phone late at night because, like the blue light or freaking whatever.
Right.
But I will play, like, 3 games of solitaire, and it puts me straight to sleep. So
I love that.
Maybe I'm just going to start when I'm, like, stressed out and be like, I got to play around.
Excuse me.
Sorry, pause.
Ooh, you know what I found this week that I'm obsessed with?
Tell me.
Is the Calm app, which...
Okay, I've seen, like...
Not a sponsor, but I'm just, like, I actually finally, like, looked into it, and it is awesome. Like,
okay, they post on my thing all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
Not like they do. It's, like, you know, ads.
It's a little expensive, but it's $70 for a whole year. So, and for me, it helps so much. So there's different kinds of, like, morning meditations you could do, daytime meditations. They have, like, bedtime stories that you can play while you fall asleep to just, like, calm your brain down. There's different, like, sounds that you can put on. There's different, like, affirmations. There's, I mean, just, like, all these kinds of things. Or, like, breathing exercises, too, where you, like, watch this, like, beautiful circle, like, rise and fall, and you're supposed to match its breathing. And so it's for, like, calming yourself or for, like, trying to get into, like, a restful, like, state of being. And so I love the Calm app. I've been listening to stories about, like, the lost city of Atlantis at night. Like, it's this really crazy, like, calming French guy who, like, speaks at a very low tone and is like, let me tell you about the lost city of Atlantis. And you're just like, ugh, all right, let's go to sleep. And I literally fall asleep within 10 minutes every time I put it on.
Really?
And that's never been a thing. I always, like, lay awake in bed for at least, like, an hour
Oh, yeah.
trying to wind down, which
Oh, yeah.
is very helpful for me at night, especially when I get off, like, a long shift and I've been running around. It's like my body is still, like, wanting to go.
Yeah.
But it, like, zens me out. So, Calm
like
app.
that.
Check it out. You
That's
can do
really
a free
cool.
trial. And then if you don't want it, you can cancel it.
That's interesting.
So I like it.
I just do, like, I think it's like a Navy SEAL technique where it's like, inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds. Inhale for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. Yeah.
I like that.
Solitary and, like, heavy breathing.
Yeah. Whatever
But-
works for you.
Look into that. Calm out.
Absolutely. I love it.
That's cool. So, anyways, you guys have, like, things to do and stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's just a part of life. Don't feel shame. Don't feel
Don't.
bad. It's a thing.
It is a
And if
thing.
you find people that you can relate to and, like, talk to, it's helpful.
It is.
And it's okay to be, like, overwhelmed and stressed out. Like, if you're not, like, are you real?
like, are you a robot?
Are you?
Just wondering.
Are
we
you-
want to know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's like the things.
Word.
But just keep on keeping on. You have one more day of this week. If you're listening to this on Thursday, if you're listening on to another day, then figure out your time.
However many more days you got left,
Do it.
make the most of them.
Make the most of it
got
because
it.
you definitely can. Put out the best things out there. I'm huge into manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I did it, I had $1,400 wind up in my mailbox.
Oh, yes.
That's like the craziest story in the world.
Look, we're just saying it works.
It really does. So
Totally works.
that's the other thing is when you have anxiety or you're feeling just crippled by things, just put out the good things. Put out the good things.
Put out the good vibes.
Sometimes when I'm like really overwhelmed, I'm like, okay, where do I want to be in 6 months? And like I just try to picture myself where I'm gonna be at.
Ooh.
And
I
then that
like
doesn't like
that.
take me like to do all of these things. I'm still being like pretty unproductive. But I feel like mentally it's good. You know, I can be like, okay, where am I going to be? What do I want to look like? What do I want to be doing? What do I want to have accomplished?
Yeah.
And I just like picture that.
It's a little boost of motivation.
Just a little boost. And then I'm like, well, this ain't getting me there.
Girl.
So,
Good point. I love that.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in today. We hope you found a little bit of little nuggets of knowledge.
Little nugs.
Little nugs. We will be back next week. We have some really exciting guests coming up too, which we're really stoked about. So stay tuned for that. And follow us on Instagram at I was like, what else do we say here? Follow us on Instagram at CJ and Cell Podcast. Give us like a like, a share, like tell your friends. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.